We just returned from a 13-day adventure through the San Juan Mountains of Colorado, and what an amazing experience it was. Amazing views, great four-wheel drive trails, good food, unique towns, and memorable campgrounds. In Episode 1, we leave our home in Phoenix, arriving first at Mesa Verde National Park, then on to Durango to ride a historic train to Cascade Canyon. Both destinations are located in southwestern Colorado, inside the black outline. Here's a closer look at that area of the map. We start off with a rather boring drive through the northeastern portion of Arizona, up I-17 to Flagstaff, then up Highway 89 through Cameron, then we hang a right onto Highway 160 across the Navajo Nation, where I made a brief stop to get some drone video of this rock formation. We continued through the Four Corners area and city of Cortez. We arrived at Morefield Campground in Mesa Verde, where we got checked in and proceeded to our campsite to get set up. It was but a few minutes before we had a visiting deer. Mesa Verde is known for its stargazing, and it did not disappoint. The next morning, we drove through the park, stopping at a few scenic overlooks. At one of them, I was in real danger of being bitten by a rattlesnake when I nearly stepped on it. We passed by the Farview Lodge and drove along Chapin Mesa to hike the Petroglyph Trail. This was a 2.4-mile loop, which was rated as strenuous. On the trail, we saw a community dwelling called a Spruce Treehouse and enjoyed some scenic views. We walked the lower portion of the trail first, which is the more difficult part, but thankfully it was shaded most of the time. We hiked through the narrow opening between two large boulders, saw the petroglyphs, and stopped at the top of the mesa for a few pictures. After the hike, we drove to the Square Tower House and Sun Temple. Despite the Cliff Palace Loop being closed, we were able to get a good look at the Cliff Palace dwelling from Mesa Top Loop. Next up was a collection of pit houses and other structures called the Farview sites. Farview was one of the most densely populated parts of Mesa Verde from the year 900 through 1300. Nearly 50 villages have been identified within a half square mile and were home to hundreds of people. Today, several excavated and stabilized sites are linked by a trail system within a short walking distance. These surface sites include Farview House, Pipe Shrine House, Coyote Village, Farview Reservoir, Megalithic House, and Farview Tower. The ancestral Pueblo people were living at Farview sites at least 200 years before they began building the more famous Mesa Verde cliff dwellings. Excavation also reveals that many people chose to remain in their Mesa Top community well after many of their neighbors moved into the cliff alcoves. We didn't allocate much time to Mesa Verde. Our goal is to explore the San Juan Mountains, and Mesa Verde was merely a convenient stop on our route. In addition, many of the attractions were closed for maintenance. I'd like to return to Mesa Verde in the future and spend some more time here, but for now, it's time to move on to Durango. The river running through the city is the Animas River, which carries snowmelt and rain to the Colorado River. We stopped by Carver Brewing Company to grab some food. Their pretzel appetizer was the best we've had, and the burgers were also good. After that, we went across the street to Cream Bean Berry for some ice cream. You'll find a link to both restaurants as well as the campgrounds and train in the description. We headed for Junction Creek Campground, and luckily they had availability for the night. We expected challenges in finding available campgrounds as we planned this trip late, and all campgrounds that accepted reservations were already booked. We got set up and spent the twilight hours getting some drone video of the area. The Junction Creek Campground was well kept, and we enjoyed our stay. Unfortunately, tonight's night lapse was cut short by rain. The next morning, we were excited to go for a ride on the Durango Silverton Narrow Gauge Railroad. They offer two basic itineraries. The first goes from Durango to Silverton, and the second offers a scenic ride into Cascade Canyon, which is the one that we chose. Here is a map of the route. An awesome experience awaited us. And away we go. The brakeman provided us with some basic rules and info as we proceeded to leave town. There were many people waving to us as the train passed by. Once we were out of the city, we made a brief stop in the town of Rockwood to pick up a few additional passengers, then entered the San Juan Forest. The views of the Animas River at the bottom of the canyon were incredible. There was just enough room on the side of the mountain for the train to fit. The scenery continued to amaze us as we continued on towards our turnaround point. Here we made a quick stop to pick up some water for the steam engine and continued on our way. Once we reached Cascade, everyone got off the train and had about 45 minutes of free time before we got back on board. I was able to get some great drone video of the area. Here you can see the train waiting for us on the tracks to take us back to Durango. They turned the train around so you enjoy the opposite side view on the way back. We saw some amazing scenery and had a great time on board. We would highly recommend this train ride. After arriving back in Durango, we headed for Silverton, a small mining town that sits about 50 miles north up Highway 550, otherwise known as the $1 Million Highway. Some people say it's because the highway cost $1 million a mile to build, while others say it's because the views are priceless. I think both are probably true. Our intention was to explore the town of Silverton, then go to a nearby campground for the night, but ended up reconsidering, as it was raining and there were only about 10 campsites at the campground that we were headed to. We knew that there would be a few nights on the trip where we'd want to get a hotel for the night, and we chose to make this one of those nights. With no hotels available in Silverton, we chose to make the drive back to Durango for the night. There were several nights we spent in the rooftop tent in the rain, but this wasn't one of them. As luck would have it, on the way back to Durango, near Mullis Pass, the sun broke through the clouds. We were in awe of the beauty of Mullis Pass. Unbelievably beautiful scenery is quickly becoming a reoccurring theme for this trip. next episode, we tour a historic gold mine and start our journey around the Alpine Loop. Bye for now.